MAGA Republicans are in a massive civil war right now. You have some of the top Trump influencers attacking other top Trump influencers. You've got them attacking J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's VP. You've got Laura Loomer, who's Donald Trump's top MAGA influencer who rides around with him wherever he goes. She says that J.D. Vance is trying to allow the Democrats to win the midterms in order for there to be an impeachment of Donald Trump so that J.D. Vance can become the president of the United States. She says that J.D. Vance is involved in a plot, basically a coup against Donald Trump. And you have a whole lot of MAGA right-wing influencers saying that. Then you've got people who are saying, no, that's ridiculous. And you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene and J.D. Vance and a group of others going after Laura Loomer. It is an absolute mess right now in this MAGA civil war. Let me just show you what's going on. Then let's take a look at what's happening in Florida's 7th Congressional District also, where you have a civil war brewing there between the current Congress member, Cory Mills, MAGA Republican Congress member, and then nearby in South Carolina, Nancy Mace is going to the floor of the House, and she keeps on giving these speeches about Cory Mills, where she reads police reports that accuse him of engaging in domestic violence with his girlfriend and other just heinous conduct. It's an absolute mess when it comes to these MAGA Republicans. And let me tell you what they're not doing, governing for the people. Actually, it's all this drama and attacking each other. Dude, people just want affordable homes. People want to afford groceries. People want to afford rent, and people want to be able to have their health care. What the hell is going on with this mess? You have Laura Loomer saying, you can tell a lot of people in the GOP are deliberately trying to botch the midterms so that Donald Trump is impeached. What happens if Trump gets impeached? We all know. Guess it's all part of their plan. Once you see it, there's no unseeing it. It's evil. And that followed her attacking J.D. Vance for giving a speech at a March for Life event. And Laura Loomer's like, why is the GOP pushing more abortion messaging in a midterm election year? Didn't they learn their lesson from 2018? Trump doesn't like when the GOP focuses on abortion. How many times do we have to say this? Trump gets it. The GOP will blow the midterms. Then J.D. Vance says, but the president literally sent a video to the March of Life event today and encouraged me to accept their invitation, which I was happy to do. It's interesting that some, quote, conservative influencers spend all of their time attacking the administration and sowing division. It's disgraceful, actually. And then people who support Laura Loomer is J.D. Vance also going to chastise Candace Owens for attacking the administration, or Tucker Carlson for sowing division? And Laura Loomer's like, no. He also never condemned his friend Marjorie Taylor Greene for calling Donald Trump a pedophile protector. This is all theatrics. If he doesn't like a division, how come he has never condemned Tucker Carlson for bashing literally every single Trump policy? It's all theatrics, all of it. Then Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, Laura Loomer is viciously attacking J.D. Vance for delivering a message to a pro-life Christian group at a March for Life. Then Laura Loomer goes, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been disavowed by Trump for calling him a pedophile enabler. Folks, this is where we are with this ridiculous MAGA GOP. Then you've got MAGA Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace saying that, reading this on the House floor a month or so back about Cory Mills, the MAGA Republican from Florida's 7th Congressional District. Just listen to what she says. Here, play this clip.
Whereas for July 14th, 2025, a different former romantic partner of Representative Cory Mills, who was apparently in a relationship with Representative Mills from November 21st to February 2025, reported to authorities in Florida that Representative Mills threatened to release nude images and other intimate videos of her, and threatened to harm her future romantic partners in retaliation for her decision to end a relationship with Representative Mills after seeing the public reports described above concerning the alleged February 2025 physical assault.
And more from Congresswoman Nancy Mace about Mills. Play this clip.
Whereas on February 19th, 2025, Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department officers were called to resolve a private matter at Representative Cory Mills' residence, where officers were called to the 1300 block of Maryland Avenue Southwest around 1:15 p.m. for the report of an assault. Whereas police reports obtained by NBC4 Washington confirmed that the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department was investigating Representative Cory Mills for an alleged assault of a 27-year-old woman that took place on February 19, 2025 at the residence of Representative Cory Mills. Whereas the first police report provided to NBC4 Washington by a source and confirmed by a second source familiar with the investigation said that the 27-year-old woman accused her significant other for over a year of having grabbed her, shoved her, and pushed her out the door. And also said that the woman involved showed the officer bruises on her arm, which appeared fresh.
Also, we learned that Cory Mills owed more than $80,000 in back rent, was accused of physically assaulting a woman, currently has a restraining order against him from another woman, not even the same woman he was having an affair with. How does he even have all of the time? How do these MAGAs have any time for this? Their job is not to do. What the hell is even happening with these people? Oh, also the same Cory Mills guy that Nancy Mace was talking about. Cory Mills hired sex workers allegedly during a 2021 Afghanistan rescue mission that later became his political calling card, disturbing and potentially endangering his teammates, according to Roger Sullenberger. It was every night, according to one source telling Roger Sullenberger. Let me be clear, I'm just reporting what Sullenberger is writing. He's known to be a good reporter, Sullenberger. So what the hell is even happening there? Could we get back to normalcy here? I want to bring in Bale Dalton. Bale Dalton is running for the 7th Congressional District in Florida, which is that seat that Cory Mills holds. Bale Dalton, a decorated Navy captain, former chief of staff at NASA. Just give you more your humble Bale, so I'll give some of your background right here. You graduated top of your class, attended the U.S. Naval Academy, served in the U.S. Navy and Navy Reserve for 23 years, 13 years on active duty with deployment to Iraq, Afghanistan, the Horn of Africa, and the Pacific. As a Navy helicopter pilot, you flew medical evacuation missions in Kuwait, delivered relief after Hurricane Katrina, supported special operations in Iraq and Africa, and directed combat air support in Afghanistan. You're the kind of person we want to see lead in, someone who's devoted their life to service. But Bale, you think you can flip this district that lots of people are saying this is a MAGA district, and even with all the stuff that Cory's doing, this is MAGA land? What do you say to people who say that?
Well, I absolutely do. I mean, well, first of all, Ben, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the rundown of my bio. And I would just say at the top, the differences between myself and Congressman Mills could not be more stark. It is black and white here. So I appreciate that intro. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people of Central Florida have been able to see what right looks like previously. This particular district has been represented by both Republicans and Democrats. And, when the people are getting what they need, they've also seen what right looks like. And currently, the current offering with Congressman Mills, I think at best we can say he's at least distracted by all of these different investigations that he's a part of. And you did a pretty good job of the rundown. I don't know how much time we have here, but yeah, I mean, the people are fed up. We've been promised a government that would be more efficient. We've been promised an economy that would be headed in the right direction. Neither of those two things are happening. And we have people that are really struggling right now, having to make hard choices about, putting food on the table with rising grocery prices. Here in Florida, we've got insurance prices that are completely out of hand, and our utility prices continue to go up with no increase in service at our homes, and no accountability from the leaders of those insurance and utility companies. And, right now, Congressman Mills, he has voted actively to make these things more expensive, especially when we talk about, healthcare, which is a crisis of Congress's own making. So, yeah, I think people are really fed up, and they're looking for somebody who's actually going to, roll up their sleeves and do the work. And that's what they have with me.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the domestic issues that we're confronting, that you'll confront as a Congress member. Then I want to talk about some of the foreign policy issues, because I think a lot of people, in the district that you want to represent, Seminole County, half of Volusia County, which makes up the 7th, they're also disenchanted that Donald Trump is doing all this foreign stuff and ignoring what's happening in Seminole County and what's happening in Volusia, and making things very dangerous for our troops and Americans abroad. So let's just start off with the domestic stuff, because the amount of gaslighting taking place. I mean, on Friday, Donald Trump was posting photos of golden arches that he wants to put up, in addition to, golden ballrooms. And then Trump posts every day that things are great, inflation is solved, things are amazing, and everybody's thriving, and that this is a golden age. He just says it, and then people like Cory Mills repeat it. But people are struggling, unless you're a right-wing oligarch billionaire friend of Donald Trump, and you're involved in, whatever manipulation of the market they do in any given day, you're struggling right now. And so as you travel across Seminole, across Volusia, and you shake hands and you meet with people, what are you hearing from them? And I assume you're hearing a lot of crossover stuff as well. The people who voted for Trump, who are voted for Mills, especially amongst independent voters, who are saying, I'm not going back. And we've seen this trend in Florida, big swings in Florida, and the specials and the mayor's races. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, we hear it from everybody. These are issues that don't affect just one group of people. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Floridians throughout the state, and especially in this district, really are struggling. And, they're the ones that are paying the grocery bills when they're checking out of Publix or wherever they happen to shop. So they're feeling it in their pocketbook. And now when they're faced with these incredibly rising healthcare costs, we've got folks that are having to make a decision of, am I able to have the assurance and the security of taking care of my family if I get sick or hurt and have to miss work? We're seeing data now where folks are having 400% increases in what their health insurance costs would be. I was just down in Castleberry talking to a small business owner, and he's not only concerned about himself and his family, but his employees and how they're taking care of themselves, and how he's going to be able to run his business if these folks are at home having to make choices about where they're able to, spend their time because they're making these pocketbook choices because, life in Florida is just too expensive right now.
Now, your background that I outlined at the outset, serving our country for all the years you have, you're a veteran. When Donald Trump is out there, though, so cavalierly attacking our allies abroad, people who you served with when you were overseas, threatening these wars, there's also, for Donald Trump doing this, there's a real world impact on our troops here. When you say, oh, I'm going to invade Greenland Army, what that means is that you're committing young Americans to go out and die fighting allies who served with us in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, abroad in general, in various wars. Talk to us about that. I just want to get your perspective as someone, who served all these years. When you just hear him or Cory Mills just throw constant warmongering against our allies.
Yeah, well, I have served both in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as the Horn of Africa and throughout the Pacific, shoulder to shoulder with our friends and allies, and especially, our NATO allies in Afghanistan. And, these folks are putting their lives on the line and, their treasure and resources as well. And, we don't have the resources as a country, nor should we be out there all alone because, we don't have the ability to do these things on our own. And frankly, if we're doing them on our own, we might not should be doing it. And I think one of the things that's really concerning to me, I was a commanding officer and had worked my way up through the ranks in the Navy over 23 years. And as a commanding officer, I have a special charge to be taking care of my troops and making sure that, the right plans are in place and that a long-term vision for what our missions and operations may be able to achieve and their importance in the grand scheme of things. And so, I would like to see, what a long-term plan is, or what an actual strategy would look like, because you're exactly right. We are asking Americans to commit, themselves, their sons and daughters, to be going out to these places on behalf of the country. And we also owe a plan to our taxpayers who are going to be, funding these operations and missions. So I would say that there's a lot of questions that need to be answered if we are going to prioritize something other than what folks are struggling with, in their homes, trying to take care of their families and run their businesses, because that's what's affecting people today and right now. And that's what people are fed up with, is that Congress seems to not be paying any attention to that.
And I think you hit upon something there too, which is just like, and especially given your leadership roles that you've had, which is, what's the plan here? Like, we shouldn't look like the high school student who shows up after not doing the homework, gets called on in class, and then BS's it and makes it up. Maybe you fool the teacher once, or you fool the voters once or twice, but at some point it's like, what are we doing? How is this helpful when we see all these other countries across the world now forming alliances with each other and cutting the United States out? How is this helping us when things are getting more expensive here? I mean, Trump and people like Cory Mills can say all they want, that tariffs are paid for by the countries abroad, which is false. And we know that 96 to 90% of those costs have been passed on to consumers. I went to a store the other day, $6 towels are now $15 towels. The energy prices that I have are up significantly. The healthcare prices I have are up significantly. I have a child. Childcare prices, you add all this stuff up, and it's like, how does anybody afford any of these things? And what's the game plan? Is the game plan just Cory Mills and Donald Trump show up and say what's happening isn't happening? Like, and that's what they're going to do for the next 3 years? That's just crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame that we haven't been, laser focused as I am, as I go throughout the district, on these issues of rising prices and how they all add up into basically an inability to live, and certainly an inability to think about the future in any aspirational way. I think the American dream is to come and, experience opportunity and take advantage of opportunities that you have, and then pass on, to your kids and the folks that follow behind you, a better foundation, a higher foundation to go from. And, that's just not happening because people are so worried about what is happening right now and today as they're trying to balance their checkbook. I mean, yeah, talk about the grocery store or any one of these other, right? I was in Home Depot the other day, and I'm just like, what? I don't understand why this is not the top of mind issue, and why Congress, seems to be, and especially folks like Congressman Mills seem to be, again, either they don't care about it or they're just not paying attention to it, because they are taking active steps to make life harder and to make life more expensive for Floridians. And, they deserve better. They deserve somebody who is providing faithful representation to the federal government and making sure that we are focused on, continuing to make this, a great place to live.
Bale, where can people find out more about your campaign and learn more about you?
Sure. Well, our website's pretty easy. It's just my name, BaleDalton.com. You can read more about, my story and my leadership experiences throughout the Navy and, of course, at NASA. And, also had worked with Senator Nelson when he was representing the state in sort of a bygone era where it seemed like Florida was putting up, folks who are interested in working bipartisanly to have some real effect and make some real actions happen for Floridians, no matter, what their upbringing and what their, political views may be. So, I've been able to have the experience that I think Floridians need. And I think the main thing is that I want to be focused on what they are focused on and, not distracted by the next adventurism that we seem to want to be on, especially having, been a part of some of those missions and operations in the past.
Bale Dalton, Democratic candidate for Florida's 7th Congressional District. Check out the site. Bale, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. I really appreciate it.
And everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.